Hello, everybody. I'm Jonathan from Boredom Sated, and this is the rest of the Boredom Sated crew.
Hello.
Today, we are continuing with our opinion on overpowered spells for each level. Today, what we are going to talk about is level 7. There are a lot of really fun choices from here on out. Level 7 has a lot of great choices. I had to do a lot of work to be able to cut mine down to 3. Everyone else did as well, had some issues cutting down to 3. As usual, we have some differing opinions, and we have some opinions that are the same. I'm going to start today, and my first spell is Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion. Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion can be cast by bards and wizards, has a range of 300 feet and a duration of 24 hours. You conjure an extra-dimensional dwelling in range that lasts for the duration. You choose where its one entrance is located. The entrance shimmers faintly and is 5 feet wide and 10 feet tall. You and any creature you designate when you cast the spell can enter the extra-dimensional dwelling as long as the portal remains open. You can open or close the portal if you are within 30 feet of it. While closed, the portal is invisible. Beyond the portal is a magnificent foyer with numerous chambers beyond. The atmosphere is clear, clean, fresh, and warm. You create any floor plan you like, but you cannot exceed 50 cubes, each cube being 10 feet on each side. You can make food from this. You have 100 nearly transparent servants that all listen to you. So if the GM messes with you, you say, no, they listen to me. It says it in the spell. Furnishings can be there, all of that stuff. You can't take the furnishings or anything out of the mansion. Why is this spell good? It's an extra dimensional space that you can literally create anywhere you want. Because it's extra dimensional, all that you have to have is the opening to the door. The opening to the door becomes invisible once you want it to become invisible. It lasts for 24 hours, so I'm going to be in the middle of a dungeon. We're all out of spells. There's nowhere safe to rest. Let's create an extra dimensional portal that we can rest in. It's food, it's shelter, it's safety. Nobody can see the entrance. Only people who you give the ability to enter the portal can enter the portal. It is incredibly useful, and again, can be very game-breaking. Some GMs really hate it when you take this spell. The components you have to have include a miniature portal carved from ivory, a small piece of polished marble, a tiny silver spoon, and each item must be worth at least 5 gold pieces, which means if the GM really wants to be a stickler, they can just not give you those items. But if you actually have to get to a point where there's an issue with that, you know the spell is very powerful.
Yep, very nice. So my first pick was Simulacrum. I think this is very useful. You can double up on a few key characters within your group. So I always prefer to, if I'm the wizard, double up myself and then have the Simulacrum, maybe double up the cleric if we need backup, or the fighter, depending on what is necessary in the next combat if it's really tough. And the big issues is for a spellcaster, it has one less 7th level spell because you just cast a 7th level spell. And it's an exact duplicate of what you had, and it has half the hit points, so it might not last as long as in the combat. But coming in with 2 wizards that can cast 7th level spells, and then and the Simulacrum casts another one and doubles your cleric, is not going to hurt you.
And my first spell is Planle Shift. Now this spell it just takes 1 action. Can take up to 8 additional people with you. Can be cast by a cleric, druid, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard, so quite a bit of the magic users. You can go to any plane, basically. If you can think of, the second level of the 9 hells, you can be transported there with all your guys. But it also has some additional features. You can go to a specific teleportation circle if it has a sigil, but you can also banish any creature to another plane of existence, and they got to find their way back. And they would have to make a charisma saving throw. Now, what monster has a high charisma? So it kind of has a multi-step. You could go basically any of the different planes. So if you need a quick escape, this only takes one action to cast, and then hold hands with all the people in a circle, and boom, you're gone. Hey, you're losing the battle. Let's go to the ethereal plane. Things of that nature. Or you could just try to put that guy, the bad guy that you're facing, in the elemental plane of fire. Oops. Now he's got to find his way back if he doesn't burn to death. So it's a pretty powerful spell for the 7th level.
My first spell is Symbol. Now, Symbol is not one of those things that you generally utilize in combat immediately, mostly because of the limitations that it has to be cast on a surface or an object. However, Symbol is one of those things, if you have enough money, because it is an expensive spell to inscribe. It takes a minute, and it costs 1,000 gold pieces in crushed diamonds and opals and mercury and phosphorus and other rare materials. But it's prep time. If you know a monster or whatever is around the corner or nearby, you can lure him over several symbols at once if you have enough time and money and resources. You can't put like 20 symbols down because it would be extremely expensive. But you can put 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it is. And you can also tell the symbol exactly when it can trigger, what it can trigger. Like you can say, hit shapeshifters, hit hags, hit undead, take devils, whatever it is. Trigger when they pass over. And you can exclude other people. Everybody who says a password. Everybody who's in my party. So they can, basically, if you've ever played any MMO, you can pull the monster, run over the symbol, you won't trigger it, and the monster as it comes over, boom, it gets hit with a numerous number of effects. Death, discord, fear, hopelessness, insanity, pain, sleep, and stunning. They're also triggering different saving throws: constitution, wisdom, charisma, intelligence, and the like. And it has a 60-foot blast radius when it hits. So you can hit multiple individuals. It's a very powerful prep spell. And it's also something to guard your own belongings. Although you can't move it, otherwise it just dispels itself. But it has, if you have enough time, it's one of those things where you can make it an encounter very much easier on yourself.
So the one thing, of course, to remember with a lot of these spells is remembering your cast time, because once you get to high-level spells, cast time can be an issue. And that's also one of the powerful or weak things about certain spells. Symbol definitely needs some prep time. You've got to set that up. Simulacrum, long cast time. Definitely need to make sure you're doing things to set it up. Whereas with the others, cast time, 1 action. So different uses for different spells. My second spell that I'm going to talk about is Finger of Death. Finger of Death can be cast by sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. I don't know why it can't be cast by clerics, but, it is what it is. Casting time, 1 action, range 60 feet. You send negative energy coursing through a creature that you can see within range, causing it searing pain. The target must make a Constitution saving throw. If it fails, it takes 7d8 plus 30 necrotic, or half as much damage on a successful save. Now, that seems decent. It's not anything special. It's decent damage, not amazing damage. Here's the reason why it's fun. A humanoid creature killed by this spell rises at the start of your next turn as a zombie that is permanently under your command, following your verbal orders to the best of its ability. So, Finger of Death. Once a day, go to a town, kill the entire population of the town. You have an army of zombies.
That's evil.
Because even if they pass the saving throw, they still take half the damage. And if they're killed by the spell, aha! So half damage on 7d8 plus 30. We're looking at what? 20. We're looking at like 30-ish damage. 30 damage is plenty to kill a regular guy out there. So, Finger of Death, create an army of zombies. Bam.
And you don't even have to be a lich. Interesting. Um,
Necromancer.
yes. So my next spell is Forcecage. Now, this one is definitely used for combat, but because it is so good, the drawback on it is you need ruby dust worth 1,500 gold pieces every time you cast it. But the casting time is one action. It creates either a cage 20 feet on side or a box 10 feet per side. And anything trapped in it cannot escape unless it has a magical means to do so. But even if it has a magical means to do so, it has to make a charisma save. And just like John said, how many monsters do you have, with high charisma? But if they fail the charisma, they lose the spell. So it's not like, oh, I failed, I can recast it again. Nope, the spell is gone. Now the cage lasts for an hour without concentration, so you can cast it on someone and go, we're not really ready for this. Let's take a short rest.
Or we're not ready for this. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yes. And the creature, unless it has multiple magical ways, or is definitely going to pass the charisma save, is pretty much stuck there for an hour. So that's my second spell.
My second spell is Resurrection. It is a utility spell. It can be cast by bards, clerics, and divine soul sorcerers, and requires a diamond of 1,000 gold pieces to be consumed. Now, this is just why would this be overpowered? Well, you can resurrect people, and you can resurrect them, at whatever. Your two of your guys die, you can resurrect them later and bring them back to life, and they don't have to re-roll a character. Or you can do it as a service to other customers and charge them 10,000 gold pieces. Hey, you want your loved one back up? It's a business now. This cures everybody of their diseases. And they love my business. It's all about the money, right? It's all about
I can't afford that magic item. Oh, wait. I have the spell.
Hey, a lot of high-level stuff costs a lot of money. So, you got to generate enough because, there are stingy dungeon masters that won't give you anything. And you got to get around them.
Stingy dungeon masters are the ones that are going to have NPCs pay you to resurrect people.
That doesn't work.
But anyway, so this will be able to bring a lot of people back to life. It's not the top resurrection spell, which is true resurrection, but it is you can do a lot of good stuff with this spell, and it allows you to have some of your players actually sacrifice themselves because they know they're just coming back. So they may go full blast. Your warrior go full blast against the bad guy. Yeah, he's gonna die, but whatever, I'll be back. That's it allows that kind of play, is what I'm saying.
Yes, John, play till you can afford to cast spells that people will pay you money for.
Okay. All right. So my second spell is called Etherealness. This can be cast by wizards, warlocks, sorcerers, clerics, and bards. So most of the spell casting classes. And it lasts 8 hours, which is amazing. And it only costs one action to cast. It's a regular spell. What it basically means is you now are in the ethereal plane. So long as you're there, you can move around and you see into the real world, but they can't see you unless they have special abilities or special magic items that allow them to do so. The only thing you'll encounter is other beings on the etheric plane. Okay. Now this is one of those spells that, again, dungeon masters despise, because if you cast on yourself, you become the best scout in the world. You go anywhere, it's like, oh, look at this. Oh, yeah, there's a beholder in that room. Oh, forget that. How about this way? Oh, yeah, it's a Hydra. We can go back to Hydra. Yeah. It's like, oh, the treasure's right here. Okay, we know exactly where to go. And yeah, you can bypass a lot of stuff. It becomes especially annoying when you cast it with a higher spell slot. As a 7th level spell, it only works on one person. As an 8th level spell, it can work on 3 people. At 9th level spell, it can work on 6 people, including yourself. So you can take your entire party and bypass everything. And yeah, that's when the Dungeon Master starts throwing etheric creatures, looking up the monster manual, like, what lives on the etheric plane? He's gonna have to pull a mulligan. Like, wait a minute.
I've had you as a GM often enough, Mike, so that I actually did not put Etherealness on my list specifically because I would assume that you would throw ethereal creatures at me.
Any Dungeon Master with his thoughts like, fuck this. Edit that one out. But hell with this. So this is one of the Dungeon Master nightmare spells that you're like, damn it. I was hoping. So this is where you have to monitor your players, and whenever they pick their new spell. And you're like, okay, that's going to be a pain in the butt. I gotta have a contingency plan for that.
Well, for those of you that played the original Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, remember the creature on the Other Planes book?
The Outer Planes, the Astral Dreadnought?
Yes, the Astral. He can go ethereal.
Yeah.
They'll never go ethereal again.
Like, nope.
Yeah.
So that is my second spell choice.
So at this point, we are going to go into our third spell choice. Several of us have chosen Reverse Gravity as our third 7th level spell choice. I say several of us because 3 of the 4 of us have made that decision. Reverse Gravity is a fantastic spell. 1 action casting time, duration is concentration up to 1 minute, range 100 feet. The spell reverses gravity in a 50-foot radius, 100-foot high cylinder centered on the point of your choice within range. All creatures and objects that aren't somehow anchored to the ground in the area fall upward and reach the top of the area when you cast the spell. A creature can make a dexterity saving throw to try to grab onto a fixed object it can reach, thus avoiding the fall, if one exists. If some solid object, such as a ceiling, is encountered in this fall, falling objects and creatures strike it as if they would be doing normally during a downward fall. So take a bunch of d6 damage. If an object or creature reaches the top of the area without striking anything, it remains there, oscillating slightly for duration. The reason why this spell is so massively overpowered is because you do it outside. You do it to a fighter. They're oscillating at the top of a 100-foot cone, doing absolutely nothing. Going, I hate you. This is not necessarily a player spell. Can be a player spell, and trust me, a lot of players use it. This is a monster spell. This is a GM spell that says, ha ha ha, I'm going to screw with all of you. Because it's a 50-foot radius, you can definitely get the entire party in it. Or if you happen to be fighting a large group of monsters, you could definitely use this as an AoE that could kill a lot of things by basically knocking them against ceilings. The components for it is just a lodestone and iron fillings, so actually very easy to get. The spell who can cast it is druids, sorcerers, and wizards, so again, a lot of characters have the option to take this spell. I have, in my own play, many times been massively screwed over by this spell. In fact, more often than not, I've been screwed over by this spell by GMs, but once in a while, I will also get screwed over by this spell as a player by another player who doesn't know how to use it properly. Because they cast it on the area and then completely ignore the fact that there might be melee characters in the party. And then you get reverse gravity, and then you just oscillate in a circle. And depending on how you're doing that, remember, you can't really strike appropriately if you have no grounding, if you have no way to be able to get yourself, footing or
You're not anchored, yeah.
You're not anchored to anything. So you swing a sword, and congratulations, now you're swinging that way really fast. Like, physics, if you have anybody who cares at all about physics and you use reverse gravity, you are screwed.
Yeah.
Reverse gravity is a fantastic spell, especially for GMs, but I will say that if used properly, it can completely negate the difficulty of an encounter if used correctly by a player.
Yep.
Now, remember yourself, you're in space, basically. No gravity. You're just floating around. And note that 100 feet, that's a 10-story building. That's how far up it is. and it's 1d6 per 10 feet
Yeah.
damage going
10 6 a
if you
shot.
hit the ceiling, and if it's coming back down. Probably should be more because of the acceleration. But that's pretty brutal spell.
So Boris, you go the third spell.
Nope.
Boris was also a reverse gravity guy.
Yes.
My third spell was Simulacrum, but Boris already went through it, so I can't really add much to it other than it's incredible. I would say force multiplier, depending upon how it's used. If you use it on any of the casters, that's more tricks up your sleeve. If you use it on the tanky classes, that's more people that can engage against alternate monsters and their henchmen. And if you use it against cleric, you're gonna keep everybody else up a little bit long and buff them up more. So that's Malcolm in a nutshell. I think that's it.
Let us know your thoughts. These are our picks for 7th level spells. There are a couple of other really, really good ones, but we picked the ones we thought were, the top of the top. There's some great damaging spells we didn't choose, but the ones we chose for a reason. If there's any specific spell that you think that should be on there wasn't, let us know. If you have any specific other, comments or how any of these spells were used for you or against you, let us know. Like, comment, subscribe.
All right. And this is Boredom Satan. Thank you.